Hey now, everybody, and welcome to Tarnation TV's live broadcast here on a Thursday evening of Rolling Thunder Gaming, NASCAR Racing 2003 season, alive and well in 2025. My name is Blaine Donlin, and we got a whole bunch of people in here today because this is a lot of fun now on a Thursday broadcast for these guys at Talladega Challenge. And this is race number 2 of season number 66. All the links you need to find this league in the description below. Rolling Thunder Gaming is their site. Of course, our sponsors, we've got all kinds of stuff to talk about, but I'll let who we got in here today? Kyle Matthews and Seth Cole doing the talking tonight. So there you go. Where are you guys?
Hey, we're right here, and I'll tell you, definitely looking forward to tonight because we talked about last week. It was going to be basically, it's a clean slate. Everybody starts at 0 points. You kind of can have that must-win mentality, bring home the trophy, bring home the steering wheel, because if you end up winning, great. You're locked in for the remaining regular season races. You just have to stay above the top 20 in points. You don't come out on the good side as far as the points day. You've got all those extra races to be able to try and get those points back. It will be interesting to see how the transition is going to be mentally here. Do we maybe for some of these drivers still stay in the must-win mentality, or is this where everybody shifts gears and starts thinking, all right, just in case I don't find victory lane, let me start accumulating those points?
I think points are going to be on everybody's mind, but I don't think anyone's panicking. I mean, like you said, this is only the second race of the season. Still got plenty of time to go before we get to the playoffs. So these guys have plenty of time to lock themselves in. So should be fun, though.
Got 39 drivers that are going to take the green flag here this evening, as Mark Paglia draws the long straw on the random qualifying draw. He will start from the pole position alongside of Joe DeSpirito, Rodney Sullins, and a driver who is locked into the playoffs with his victory last week in the season over Chuck McClure. They're going to be row number 2. Grant Wesley is going to make it crazy 8s alongside of Glenn Harris, as they'll be in row number 3. Denny Carroll, Chris Elliott in row 4, with your top 10 completed by Terry Bombard and Bob Seminara. Row 6 going to find Ron Hagelin and Tim Nofsker. Row 7, Josh Metallic and Dante Ricky. Jeffrey Elliott makes up row number 7 with Donnie Cameron. Row 8, Doug Woolley and Craig Hagley. Your top 20 going to be Brian Schilling and Greg Palmer. Row 11 finds Pat McCarskey and Donnie Garrett. Row 12 with Garland Oaks and Randy Waugh. Row 13, Billy Elliser and Ulysses Sandoval. Row 14 will be Jeremy Jeffries and Mike Mangialardi. Cy Jones, Robert Breedlove going to complete your top 30. Bobby Farrell will roll off 31st. Javier Negron in 32nd. Jessica Loreley in 33rd. RJ Cabana 34th. 35th, Bernie Mobbs. 36th, John Godfrey. And the rest of the field tonight, 37th on back, Brian Rawson, Robert Spring, and Cody Lamas. Kyle, I know you were very excited here tonight. This is throwback night here for the RTG drivers. All these historic paint schemes on the racetrack. We'll be seeing these historic throwback schemes every other week here for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, there's a lot of them that I like, especially right there on the outside of row number 1 there, that car that Joe DeSpirito is driving. A lot of good memories right there, being a Jeff Gordon fan with that scheme.
Little Wood Brothers versus Hendrick Motorsports here on the front row. As here we go, green flag in the air, 66 laps for race number 2 of the 66th season of the Talladega Challenge Series. And of course, different from previous seasons, we've normally alternated between Talladega Superspeedway and Burt Screwdrivers Raceway back-to-back weeks here at the same venue, and we will be here, I believe, the entirety of the season, not doing the back and forth. So while this is a brand new version of Talladega Superspeedway, maybe an opportunity here for drivers that didn't quite get completely acclimated to maybe some of the changes of this racetrack last week, able to do so here tonight for another 66 circuits.
Seeing some changes 2 seasons in a row. Of course, last season they debuted this mod, and that took a while for these guys to get used to. Now we have a brand new version of Talladega, but that's going to be the only thing that they're going to be running this season. So very interesting.
Throwback after throwback after throwback lined up in that middle groove. You've got the Dale Sr. throwback, the Black Rifle Coffee number 38 of Rodney Sullivan's now in P2. The Jeff Gordon throwback there of Joe DeSpirito third. The Darrell Waltrip throwback in fourth. That's Chuck McClure, who's looking to open up the season with back-to-back victories. And then the Dale Jr. throwback, the Krispy Kreme sponsored Chevrolet of Glenn Harris right behind him. That's one of the beauties and the curses maybe of a throwback race is you love to see the schemes out there, but then you kind of scratch your head for a moment and think, who is that? Because you're so used to the primary schemes.
Oh, definitely.
That's when you got a car files that are, 100 deep, but you only got 43 people on the track, and you're like, oh, cool, we got some new ones today. That's awesome. Thanks,
That's
guys.
Right.
Yeah, this race is right up my alley. I know a lot of the online races I've competed in over the years. I've ran a lot of throwback schemes. Seth, you've painted a lot of those for me. So yeah, I love what I'm seeing so far.
Grant Wesley, that bright green 88, trying to lead the inside line, but they seem to be going nowhere. As a matter of fact, they seem to be drifting back as that middle line, the dominant lane usually here, unless a third lane forms to the outside. Wesley started this race from up inside of the top 5, and now he has drifted back currently to around the 11th position, trying to find something there. He's got the help. Denny Carroll's down there with him, Ron Hagelin as well in that Bobby Allison throwback. You've got the Ryan Newman throwback of Josh Metallic, but they just can't make any ground up, and now you see everybody just kind of trying to squeeze their way up into that middle line.
Wesley just barely had enough room in between him and Denny Carroll. Gonna leave who's that leading that inside line now?
That's Ron Hagelin in the 111.
It's like the middle lane. That's where you want to be right now. Haven't really been able to get anything going on the bottom so far.
I was seeing a third lane forming back there. Jeffrey Elliott was up there. Jessica Lorley jumped up there. Looks like Randy Waz doing the same. We got a story about him in a little bit, by the way. But now looks like could be another outside line a little bit further up forming. Brian Schilling, no surprise to see him going up to the third lane. He's very at home when it's up there against that upper portion of hash marks. He's got Grant Wesley there for drafting help, but they're probably going to need a little bit more if they're going to be able to advance further up inside of the top 10, and they now find themselves 3 wide.
Brian Schilling in a very good paint scheme there it was very successful at Talladega and Daytona back in the 90s at number 4 Kodak Chevrolet. At least I think that's a Chevy he's running. Yes, it is a Camaro. Had both Ernie Irvin and Sterling Marlin very successful in that car here. So Schilling trying to, hoping to have that same kind of success. It's like Bob Seminara to the inside of Bombard. Sorry to interrupt you there, Seth.
Nope, you're good. Move up there inside of the top 10. Dante Ricky there to offer the drafting help on that inside line. You mentioned about Brian Schilling, runner-up for the championship last season, 11 points short of taking the championship from the defending champ, Jeremy Jeffries. Yeah, you look too, there's a number of drivers who last week did not get the finishes they were looking for. Some of them caught up in wrecks. A couple of drivers ended up getting some late pit road penalties and weren't able to come back from them. I look at some drivers that, like Jeremy Jeffries, the defending champion, Joe DeSpirito, Grant Wesley, former champion, and Richard Martin, Jessica Lorley. These are drivers here today that, maybe, I know obviously you want to win to lock yourself in, but these kind of, I think, would be drivers that would fall into the category. They'd be happy to leave here tonight with a top 10 or a top 5, just kind of get back a lot of those points they may have left on the table last week.
That's good for you in the point standing. It's good for you mentally too. I mean, you get off to a really get off to a bad start with a bad race in the first two races. That can play a lot with you mentally right there. So those drivers that need good runs tonight, if they can come out here with them, that'll do them good in multiple ways.
Took the opportunity here during their practice session to get out on the racetrack in a couple of packs, get an idea of what these drivers are dealing with, and there are a couple of things that I noticed that are slightly different with the current racing package at this racetrack, as opposed to the previous version, one of the biggest things that I noticed is it seems like you have to be a lot more patient in generating a run. It seems like the suck up is not quite as dominant here. Whoa!
22 car around, I saw.
That's Greg Palmer and that Alan Kulwicki throwback. I believe there was another car as well. I believe it might have been the 92 of Bobby Farrell that was around on the back straightaway. The frozen field with caution out, and leader Mark Paglia will bring them back to the yellow here. Caution coming out on lap number 8.
Don't see any damage on that 22 car, so maybe it was just a spin.
I think the 22 got lucky. He's going to need tires. That's about it.
They were 3 wide back there.
92 pushed up into him right there, and we've talked about how you're running on that bottom line. Your car tends to push up, and it looks like that's exactly what happened. Good save there by Palmer. It looks like he didn't, like I said, didn't get any damage.
Bobby Farrell, on the other hand, saw that car kind of turn back up towards the outside wall. Might have pancaked the right side. That right front fender, maybe. I don't think that'll be enough to have him off the pace either. I don't even think that would. Yeah, I don't even think that would classify as potentially giving him aero damage. So we get away with one here. Only a couple of cars involved in this first yellow, and both should be okay and able to continue up to speed. Obviously, some loss of track position here, but we've seen drivers be able to gain that track position very quickly in a short amount of time.
It's the beauty of super speedway racing right there. One car going to stay out there, that 111.
Now, you remember back during the playoffs last season, we saw a lot of gamesmanship amongst the playoff contenders, giving up track position to get that valuable bonus point for a lap led. It's not too early on here in the regular season to start thinking about those bonus points and how they could be a difference maker between you maybe being a playoff contender or being that first car on the outside looking in of the playoff cut line when we get to the regular season finale.
No, a couple times in the playoffs last season, I think we had a couple of ties where we're supposed to have, I think we had like one more driver advance to the next round than we were supposed to have, probably all due to, you know, every point being important. So anytime they get an opportunity to gain a bonus point, they're going to take it.
I think to your point, I think we ended up having 9 drivers advance into the second round of the playoffs when they were originally supposed to be 8. And then we had 5 drivers transfer into the final round of the playoffs when they were supposed to be 4. So yeah, really shows the importance of every single point, every single position that you can possibly garner. Looks like half dozen drivers stayed out here for an extra lap, and they'll probably be coming to pit road next time by. Mark Paglia won the battle off of pit road, so he'll more than likely cycle around as our race leader once we go back green. Paglia came into this race 15th in the point standings, 18 points out of the points lead. And that's another thing, too, about this early on in the season, because the points are so close after one race that we can see drivers double digits move up in the standings and drivers double digits fall down through the point standings. With the massive fields that we have, nearly full fields every single week, there's a lot of points that can be gained or left on the table depending on your circumstances in the first 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 races of the regular season.
Now Hagelin going to come to pit road. Looks like the 6, the 48, and the 82 stayed out. I don't know who that red car is, but
that is Donnie Cameron. There are 2 race cars that we are unable to see here tonight. The red generic Honda is the 87 of Donnie Cameron, and you'll be also seeing a Toyota Supra that is a generic pink. It's the 67 of Garland Oaks. So unfortunately, we don't have those liveries here this week. Hopefully we'll have them next week, or if they're throwbacks in 2 weeks' time, as we've got the lights out here on the pace car. Want to take a chance real quickly here while I'm thinking of it. Mention that we have a little bit of a story surrounding the 21 of Randy Waugh. Now, Kyle, you chimed in the first time that I mentioned his name with the Luigi, which of course is a moniker of our broadcast colleague Michael Norman. Every time we mention his name, this is a brand new paint scheme for Randy Waugh here tonight. And if you take a look on the rear deck lid behind the back windshield, prominently featured is Waluigi. So
let me see
Very
this.
nice. Michael, what have you done?
I mean, Randy has told us that his grandson, Corey, every broadcast has to hear the Waluigi name there for Randy, and he has fully embraced it, and it is prominently there on his race car here tonight.
That is awesome right there.
So how long did it take him to put that on there? He's got it on the side too.
Let's see. When did
You guys have
Michael
been-
start that?
Yeah.
I want to say season 64? Maybe season 63.
That's cool. Took you long enough, Randy, but it looks awesome. And I'm sure Corey approves.
Absolutely. I also noticed there down around the Ford logo on the back bumper of that 21's got the Let's Go Racing Corey logo there too. So pretty cool. Featured on that number 21. That's going to roll off on this restart. Looks like from the 14th position, Donnie Cameron elects to stay out the entirety of this caution period. So he will definitely be at a fuel deficit to the rest of the drivers around him. He'll have to come to pit road within the next 10 to 12 laps, where everybody else will be able to go maybe another 8-9 laps further. So might be banking on a quick yellow to be able to put him back on the same fuel strategy as everybody else, but going to enjoy some track time out in front here as he'll bring the field through the tri-oval, and we'll get back underway. Pole sitter Mark Paglia going to line up to his outside, and a little bit of a stack up there on the inside line there as Rodney Sullins tried to time the green, give the 87 a shove. Same time, the 712 of Bob Seminara lost touch with the back bumper of the 24, so now it's a matter of who can form up the best of the respective lines down the back straightaway.
Looks like Cameron's going to have the advantage for the time being. He's got Rodney Sullins all over his back bumper now. Now it looks like the outside line is going to inch ahead just a bit there.
So that orange car back there forming a third line. That's Pat McCarskey coming fresh off of a victory last night in the Aero 88 series. Won both the overall race and the Challenger. Got the Challenger win there in that series as well. So looking to maybe have back-to-back victories within 24 hours as drag race to the line there, and it will be Donnie Cameron still continuing to show the way. Paglia staying to his outside, though, pretty much deadlocked these two particular lanes.
Now both of them are getting good pushes right there. Paglia getting a good push there from Joe DeSpirito. You have Cameron getting a good push from Rodney Sullins on the inside line there.
Speaking of Rodney Sullins, you got Redline Performance Motorsports, main sponsor for this whole gig going on here on Thursday night, all thanks to Rodney Sullins Paints. In cahoots with those guys, funding the new broadcast setup you're seeing, and of course the new track, and everything's fresh. Season 66.
And speaking of Rodney Sullins, a lot of these throwbacks that you see throughout the field are out of the Rodney Sullins paint shop. Chris Elliott got shuffled out of that outside line, and he's now kind of faded back to be the lead car of the third lane in front of Pat McCarskey, Ulysses Sandoval, and others. That's back around the 16th position. 3 wide in that area, back through the field, double wide for about the first 7 or 8 rows.
Looks like Paglia will hold the lead right now. That outside line looks to be a little bit more organized. Joe DeSpirito, Bob Seminara right behind them. Those two always work well together out here.
Now this kind of seems like a conflict of interest. Can a Coors Light car and a Budweiser car work together?
When they need to, I guess.
Danny Carroll in
the
front
ground
of that outside line there.
Look at the ground that Chris Elliott's making on that outside. We just talked about him there. And I got shuffled back, but that that far outside line is working pretty well right now.
When you talk about the different beer sponsors, I work for FedEx. I'm driving down the street today and I see a couple of UPS packages lying on the side of the road. I'm like, uh-oh, I better turn around and go get them. So I go into a parking lot to turn around and I see the UPS guy walking back to the street. I'm thinking, hey, bro. Oh my goodness. Don't talk, Blaine. Accidents happen.
Big 1 and 1 and 2, and it started with that third line. Javier Negron, Bobby Farrell, Tim Knopfsker in the middle of all that. Pat McCarskey, a lot of damage on both sides of his machine.
Well, that count as a commentator's curse on my part.
Yep.
Maybe. We'll give you a half point.
Wow, Chris Elliott just went sideways in there. Let's see what happened here.
Yeah, he's stuck in the grass. Looks like he's got it refired and going to be able to continue on, but just kind of, it's hard to tell initially there if the car on the inside line pushed up or if Chris Elliott kind of came down. Might have been a little bit of that gray area, but they were definitely 3 wide, fighting for space going into turn 1. Oh, might be a late bump actually from Pat McCarskey to Chris Elliott.
Like a bump draft gone wrong in the middle of the corner right there at first glance. But to take a look at it again here, but
I'm almost wondering if maybe the 9 or the 09, I'm sorry, of Chris Elliott may have backed off a little bit when the 21 of Randy Waugh jumped up in front of him. And that might have, I think he lifted a little when the 21 jumped up in front and McCarskey didn't let out of the throttle quickly enough. A few drivers did a nice job of just coasting their way through. Ron Hagelin, Robert Breedlove, Doug Woolley as well, just kind of let everything happen around them and got through unscathed.
Step this camera up so we can see it. Didn't look like a hard bump at all.
Yeah, but when you're going into the entry of a corner, just even the slightest amount of contact, if you got the wheel turned left in preparation for the corner, can be enough.
Well, and that's the thing, too, racing with the Elliots as much as I have. They can take those bumps because they run a pretty high steering assist. So, pushing right there, sometimes, most of the time, actually, it doesn't lead to this. That was just an anomaly, I guess.
Well, Ulysses got some air on his car right there, but he's able to just get right back down and maybe took a slight hit there, but kept on going. That could have been a lot worse for him.
One thing I did notice as they were all leaving the scene of the accident, there is a buckle on the hood of the Food Lion machine of Chris Elliott, and that is usually with moderate damage not something you want to have in a super speedway race. Yes, they'll be able to repair it, but that usually means you're going to suffer from what we call aero damage, which doesn't hurt you all that much if you're able to be in the draft and have somebody pushing you, but it takes away your ability to be able to lead a line because it means you're going to be down about 1 to 3 miles per hour on straight line speed if you have clean air to the nose. You've got to be in draft to be able to stay competitive in that type of a scenario.
Yeah, you're just going to have all the air and the wind just pushing down on the front of that car, and that's going to slow you down dramatically if you're out, trying to lead a group, like you said. So it's going to be a bit of a struggle for him, at least if he wants to, try to win the race. He could still get a good finish out of this, but who knows?
In the YouTube chat there, at least on the Tarnation TV YouTube chat, we've got a Fantasy Stock Car Association asking, how do I join the league? Links in the description below, rollingthundergaming.com. It's got all the stuff you need for that. They've got submission forms, and they'll just get with you on TeamSpeak. The chat, obviously, if you played the game long enough, you'll be fit to race. It's really hard to qualify for some of these races because there's so many good drivers, but hey, it's fun trying, and everybody around here will help you. You got a question about anything, it's not going to take you long to get an answer. And I got Jason Scheck in there as well. Wish I could be in there tonight. Have a great race, drivers. Tell your loved ones how much they mean to you before it's too late. 81. So that's an interesting comment from Jason. Sounds like he's been dealing with some stuff. And David Chin in there saying, what's up? One of the top dogs over at ASR Racing League. one big happy family, this NR2003 community.
Yeah, we've seen that number 38 Wheaties throwback of Rodney Sullins prominently up here inside of the top 5, top 10 beginning stages of this race. His father, Al Sullins, a usual suspect in our chat in there tonight. Like he was able to get a YouTube name change as well.
I noticed that. I think it was funny because Rodney said he was actually, I think he was visiting Dad a couple of weeks ago and made sure he set him up his own account because he was using Mom's account. So Alton, he now has his own YouTube account and
Awesome.
can comment with his actual name. But it was still cool that he found a way to do it regardless.
Oh, yeah.
But that's super cool. Family, everybody loves watching this stuff. It's cool. Like, hey, check out this thing we do, you know. And we feel weird like streaming video games because who wants to watch a guy play Call of Duty when you can just play Call of Duty? I mean, who really wants to play that anymore anyway? But
Never got into it.
Get into it here and there, right? But this is different. Broadcasting this, it still looks like a race, which is very cool that we've found ways to do it, you know, with guys like John Godfrey and Tyler Mallon, and making these utilities, making these tracks. I mentioned Tyler Mallon because he's the reason I can do all the funky camera moves because he created Free Cam. It's just never ending, so it's cool to broadcast a race like this and try to make it look as close to real life as possible. I mean, it's obviously never going to be perfect, but you're watching cars go around a track. It's pretty much all it is.
Absolutely.
For a game that came out in 2003,
Yeah.
for it to still be going the way it is today is just simply remarkable.
Well, if we're going to be technical, it was 2002, but I digress.
Rod
Was it late
Weston
02?
will
It was. It actually
Yeah.
was
Okay.
02. Yeah,
November
They,
02.
they,
Yeah.
they released it
Okay.
in 02, even though they put the 2003 year on the game.
I always thought it was like January of 03, but okay, that makes sense.
I
Darryl
think the
Waltrip.
reasoning behind it was because they lost the license, they had to push it out as fast as possible.
Oh.
Jeffrey, and
that
thank
would-
goodness
that
they
would make
did.
sense.
Jeffrey Elliott out there all by himself. I wonder if he's choosing to go backwards on purpose.
Yeah, I think maybe he was planning on staying out to be the race leader. Robert Breedlove had the same idea, and so now Jeffrey, realizing he's got to save some fuel here, going to be somewhere about 3 to 4 laps shorter on fuel than everybody else, deciding, let me kind of drop to the back here, get in the draft rather than be that lead car and try to save a little bit. Breedlove in that Darrell Waltrip throwback, one of 2 drivers along with Elliott that elected to stay out under this caution period. It's interesting. We've seen now, about 8, 9 drivers between the span of these 2 cautions roll the dice for track position and put themselves in a little bit different of a fuel situation to the majority of the field.
Well, we've seen many races come down to fuel mileage too, so, can't say I blame them for trying something different.
That is a very cool looking car.
I think I have figured out the agenda of the 56. It looks like he dropped back there to make sure there would be a drafting partner for that wounded 09 of Chris Elliott. So the brothers working together there.
Ah. Oh, yeah, he's pushing the 09.
Mark Paglia going to go back to the race lead once again. Trying to maybe lock up that bonus point for most laps led here tonight as well. Rodney Sullins has been pretty committed to that 28 here, whether it was in the middle groove or now right down there on that yellow line, wrapping the bottom of the racetrack. Chuck McClure right behind them as well in that 17. We mentioned about the fact it's been back-to-back seasons now that McClure won the season opener, season 65 and season 66. Chuck seems to have a knack for winning the first race of something. He also last season won the first playoff race to get himself the automatic lock into the round of 8. So we've yet to see him win back-to-back races to begin a season. Maybe tonight's the night. And when you end up getting that victory in the early portion of the regular season, it frees you up to be a lot more aggressive to try and get more wins and more bonus points for when the playoff standings are reformatted at the end of the regular season.
Plus, you don't have the stress and anxiety to go through either. So, I mean, be able to, knock out two birds with one stone. Just go out there and win the very first race. And McClure's done that quite well over the last season and a half.
We mentioned a list of drivers that did not get the best of runs last week. One driver that was involved in at least 3 wrecks that I can think of in last week's season opener came in as the defending champion, Jeremy Jeffries. Also didn't get very lucky on the random qualifying draw here tonight. I'm starting to see that Rick Mast throwback working his way up on the inside line. Looks like he's about the 7th or 8th car in line there. Last time by crossed in, I believe, the 19th position, trying to make his way up towards the top 15. A bit of a quiet start here for him, but again, one of those drivers that's just looking for a solid night after the hardships of last week.
It's a good-looking paint scheme right there, back to, I want to say, 1995, maybe? I think it was, because I know Rick Mast had the Hooters sponsorship in '96. So,
as you can clearly tell, Kyle is the mastermind of the throwback schemes. As a matter of fact, the car to his outside, that 7-Eleven of John Godfrey. I said, "All right, Kyle, all you. I have no idea who this is a throwback to."
I believe that would be Randy LaJoy. I know for a couple of seasons, and I think Johnny Benson may have had that paint scheme as well.
I know it's LaJoy because when we did the ALS broadcast last year with Kelly Causey, somebody actually knew Randy LaJoy and got him to do the drivers start your engines. And I made sure I went out and found that car so I could make a little NASCAR 2003 replay to go with the video that he had. So I had to research the car that he drove, and that one that John's driving was pretty much it.
Beautiful looking paint scheme there, and you can see the very recognizable singular wireless Chevrolet throwback of Bernie Mobbs now put in the middle 3 wide. The Robbie Gordon throwback starting to fade a little bit as he's been placed in the sucker hole. He's got Toyotas to his outside. He's got a Ford to his inside there. A couple of Fords lined up with Bobby Farrell and Cy Jones. Also noticing some potential stragglers here towards the rear of the field. Tim Knopfsker trying to stay in touch with Pat McCarskey. Chris Elliott, who we documented, believe he has some aero damage. Robert Spring right behind him as well. I mentioned before we had that first caution, it seems like it's a little bit harder with this track setup combination to be able to generate a run, equally as difficult when you are the last driver in a line to stay in touch with the car in front of you. So for some of those drivers back there, while they love to see the double and 3 wide racing up ahead to give themselves a chance, as Billy Elliser around the back straightaway. We've got more. Mike Mangialardi is up and over. Jeremy Jeffries is at the inside wall. I'm not sure that's even going to bring out a yellow. No, we're still green. All that happened down below the yellow line, deemed off the racing surface. First car I saw get out of shape was Billy Elliser. He went straight down towards the inside wall. As it looks like a checkup there of RJ Cabana front of him sends him straight down to the inside safer barrier. And I'm not sure if the incident up ahead was a result of that or not. I believe, to your point, Kyle, I think that was Mike Mangialardi. I believe Jeffries and Dante Ricky might have been the 3 drivers involved in that incident further up, which indeed was a byproduct of the earlier incident with Glenn Harris getting up into Mangialardi, shooting him down across the nose of the 1 and the 84.
Wow, and they almost, it's fun, it's crazy to watch that sometimes. It's fun to see how close they are sometimes to saving it. There's just so many cars around, you're bound to tag somebody.
So now the big question is going to be, whenever there's an incident that occurs under green flag conditions, the driver that is responsible has to come down pit road for a pass-through penalty, and it looks like RJ Cabana may be doing just that right now to avoid getting a post-race EOL when the race is over. So it looks like Cabana has raised his hand saying, I'm the one responsible. He's come down, he served the penalty, so he should be good to go here for the remainder of this race, but got to wonder about the damage done on the 26 and the 1, who both nosed it into the inside wall. Heavier impact, I think, for Elliser than for Jeffries, but consider the fact that maybe we go green the rest of the way, too. No caution to save you, to bunch you back up. That is a tough break for a couple of drivers there.
I can't believe that didn't bring out a caution. I know they're probably all below the racing surface, but you'd think a multi-car crash like that would do it. But nope.
The administrators have the ability to throw it out there, right? But they don't. In this league, they just let the game handle it.
Yep, that's correct. Yeah, the only thing that they do are clear black flags, add laps, that kind of stuff. But if the sim does not deem it caution worthy, they do not throw out a yellow flag for it. And
speaking of caution flags, somebody that's recovered from a caution flag, the 22 of Greg Palmer, he was involved in that first crash. Didn't get any damage. You saw him just spin out, and he's worked his way back up into the top 5.
Palmer, a playoff contender last season, though the first round of the playoffs was not kind to him. He ended up finishing 13th of the 13 playoff contenders. Look at Grant Wesley kind of muscling his way up the inside line. He almost made a couple of those passes by himself. Might have gotten a little bit of slipstream off of the 22 of Greg Palmer and pulls right up in front of Craig Hagley. Now let's see if this outside line can maybe start doing something. I am noticing that they've got this outside line open because most of the leaders have migrated to the bottom. That says to me, these drivers, they're only about maybe 5 to 7 laps away from when we're going to start to see some green flag pit stops. And so far this season, we have yet to see drivers make a green flag pit stop with this widened pit road.
Mm-hmm.
Couple cars coming off pit road. Looks like the drivers are involved in that wreck, as they decided just to go ahead and make their pit stop now.
And Mike Mangialardi, I believe Robert Breedlove also on pit road. Remember, he stayed out under the last yellow, so him coming to pit lane means that we are very close to a bunch of these leaders having to come to pit road. Talk about a driver cutting his way through the field. How about that Mark Martin throwback in second place? 3 drivers elected to take voluntary EOLs by leaving the server prior to it getting kicked ahead to qualifying. Robert Spring, Cody Lamas, and Brian Rawson. Rawson's been able to work out now from starting back in 37th. He's now inside of the top 5 and leading that outside line.
Yeah, I was running up there in second spot, tried to go to the outside to make up some ground, and lost a couple of spots, but he's got a good pusher behind him right there in Grant Wesley.
And now Rodney Sullivan's going to jump up there to the outside line on the 24. Interesting that we're seeing these moves being made so close to when these drivers are going to have to come to pit lane. But maybe with there being the wider pit road, they feel a little bit more comfortable with battling side by side here rather than single filing out, feeling that maybe they're able to pit from that second line, provided the drivers to their left are also going to come to pit road on the same lap.
It's funny, last week we were wondering, like, it doesn't really look wider. And then on Sunday, we went back to ASR and we're racing Talladega. And we were using the BSR version. Oh, yeah, so much wider. You know what I mean? You don't notice it until you actually go back to the older versions of Talladega. And it's legit at least 1 lane wide, might even be a lane and a half. There's a lot more tarmac.
Yeah, I took the opportunity to turn some laps tonight, and I specifically came down pit road to see what it was like. A lot more spacious, a lot easier to get onto.
It's like Solins is going to barely lead that lap over to Spirito. The Dale Earnhardt Wheaties throwback out front there.
Yeah, last week, not bad, but not great for Rodney Sullins. 20th in points coming into tonight. a driver that, if he doesn't win, a top 5 or a top 10 could easily propel him up into the top 12 in the standings. Top 12 in points, regardless of if they win during the regular season or not, are locked into the postseason, and then any driver with a victory between 13th through 20th would get in through a wild card spot. We had 13 drivers make the playoffs last season. Billy Ellis are going to go a lap down there. Still soldiering on, despite definitely having some front-end damage on that race car, as we saw him nosed into the inside wall. Didn't bring out a yellow. It's like the 87 of Donnie Cameron is indicating he's coming to pit road this time. We're still waiting to see when leaders will pit, and with the amount of laps we're going to have left, we're going to be at 30 to go this next time by. Dependent on if these drivers, I don't think they can go another 10 laps. We're looking at still 2 more stops to the finish for these guys. So this is basically the pit stop that's going to set up for the money stop.
It's just informed most people out there are looking at 2 projected laps, so any point.
And there are a
Trackside
lot of drivers
information
right now that are hoping that either there's some issues of drivers getting to pit lane or that we get a yellow. Seen Tim Knopfsker way back here. Robert Spring has lost the draft. Jeremy Jeffries, obviously, as we documented. I don't think he's come to pit road yet. As here come the leaders. Let's see how much of this space they're going to utilize.
Oh.
All of it.
Oh.
Ryan Ross and John Godfrey, Randy Waugh all making some contact back there towards the entry of pit lane. I think Rawson may have door banged DeSpirito, but DeSpirito was able to keep it pointed in the right direction.
Wesley up front now. Leading Fag Hagley and Josh. Where's Josh? Oh no, Josh is gone. Chuck Leclerc.
Probably see these drivers hit pit road this lap.
Oh, somebody into the wall.
And Jeffrey Elliott with problems there. A lot of guys locking him up. And Chuck McClure got the 82 in the grass.
Yeah, Hagley.
Bunch of them overcooked it there on entry. Hagley slid out into the grass and took Chuck McClure with him. Grant Wesley was very hard on the brakes there. We'll have to see if he got woed up in time or not. That was maybe the most aggressive we've seen a driver attempt the art of hot pitting here so far in this round of pit stops.
Hot pitting can really work out, and it could also backfire on you right there, as we just saw. So, always taking a risk trying that technique.
Originally, there was only about 2 lanes to be able to race side by side off of pit road. There's about 3 lanes now available for drivers to try and cut down issues while entering and exiting pit lanes, your pit stalls, that is.
Like a really good stop there for Grant Wesley. We saw him way out in front of everybody that he pitted with. Not always what you want to have here at a super speedway, though.
Maybe a little too far out in front here, because there's a thundering herd being led by Rodney Sullins, and they are closing up that gap quickly. He is going to be a sitting duck. He'll get himself a bonus point with staying out and getting that lap lead. That could be important for him, but now he's going to drift outside of the top 10 as Sullins is going to retake command of the lead. Mark Hagley will line up behind him in second. Terry Bombard, great pit stop for him, now finds himself filed up into third. Donnie Garrett currently in fourth with Dante Ricky fifth. I mentioned about the good comeback run after the early spin for Palmer. He's sixth. DeSpirito seventh. Then Denny Carroll, Grant Wesley, and Josh Metallic going to be the top 10 as the caution is out.
Yeah, the 8 car just blew up.
Glenn Harris, the Dale Jr. throwback, coasting on the back straightaway. Tough break there, the Krispy Kreme Chevrolet. He was in 18th when he crossed the line last time by, and coming off a solid run in last week's season opener as well. He was 10th in the standings coming into tonight, looking to preserve a spot in the top 12, but mechanical failure for him. And there's a bunch of drivers that are looking at their current running position and saying thank you when they saw that caution come out, because now this puts them back into the conversation to maybe still have enough laps to take this victory.
Was told during the pit stops, the 67 also blew up.
Couple of drivers with some mechanical problems here. Garland Oaks, that Team Wrecking Ball Toyota Supra. And it looks like the engine's going to let go for Glenn Harris just in the center of turn 2. I'm honestly surprised. We're going to have to see here. Caution comes out at a very interesting point.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. I see Harris with the blown motor, but the yellow came out because he got off the track.
Yeah, he's off the racing surface.
And you can see there the yellow comes out. He's already down to 100 mile. I wonder what the pit road change. Did they move a line that we can't see?
I'm not sure. I'm also wondering if maybe, like we saw earlier, those couple of incidents down below the racing surface, but we didn't see a mechanical failure. I wonder if, regardless of if you're down off the racetrack or not, if the sim will still throw a yellow for an engine expiring.
Yeah.
To your point, he's down there below the yellow line, so one would certainly think that we would remain green, but maybe the sim takes mechanical failures into a different account than an on-track incident.
3 yellow cars stay out.
That NASCAR official there with the stop sign. Good thing he's wearing his body armor today, man. Holy moly. He's been run over about 17 times.
It's a dangerous job, but somebody's got to do it.
It's like Brian Schilling, Cody Lamas, and Jessica Loreley staying out right now. I don't know if they're going to pit this time around or not. We'll see.
I think they're going to. The timing of this caution is very interesting because I believe we're still out of the window to be able to make it the rest of the way. When we go back green, we'll probably be somewhere around 22, 23 laps to go. That puts us about 4 or 5 laps short of making it on fuel. I think what these drivers are thinking is stay out the extra lap, pit during the second lap of caution. It could be the difference between on the final pit stop taking half a can and a full can of fuel, which is precious, precious seconds, especially in the closing stage of a super speedway race. And we've seen Brian Schilling pull off a couple of fuel miracles here in this series, so I would not put it past him to do it again.
I don't think I've ever seen anybody save fuel like he can. Like, that is just amazing.
I've seen some guys just been flabbergasted that they were able to finish a race on how they saved fuel. Like, I remember Jeffrey Elliott when they were used to run Talladega Nights Racing League, and sometimes I'm thinking, what's he doing? But, you know, you run a little bit slower sometimes, and it can add up.
Well, Cody and Jessica pit, but Schilling stays out.
I don't think we're going to get the lights out this time. I think we're going to get another lap of caution, so he may be pushing it as far as he possibly can and come down on the last possible lap of pacing. You see, light's still on, so I think his plan is to come down here on the 3rd lap of this caution period. He's going to give up a lot of track position on the flip side of it, but I don't see it possible. But again, this is Brian Schilling we're talking about, for him to come down, make the pit stop, and be able to make it the rest of the way. But, you know, with his ability of fuel saving, maybe that 3 or 4 laps that he would be short, maybe during the span of a 20-lap run, he might be able to save just enough to be able to get to the checkers while everybody else is going to have to make the dive onto pit lane within 10 laps to go.
And this, of course, is assuming we go green the rest of the way.
You saw earlier there as well the Wiley coat and David Cannon logos prominently featured on the rear deck lid of Brian Schilling. Those logos, along with a bunch of others, featured in the infield grass as well, with the tremendous graphics job done by John Godfrey here with this new version of RTG's Talladega Super Speedway. Looks like our free pass drivers can be RJ Cabana and Elliser. This will put all but 2 drivers back on the lead lap. Angelardi, Craig Hagley, they will still be a lap down. 4 drivers currently out of the race. Len Harris, Garland Oaks, mechanical failures for them. And then Chris and Jeffrey Elliott, 36th through 39th for those 4 drivers.
And Schilling comes down pit road, so yeah.
See if anybody else comes down here with him. Oh, yep, Jeremy Jeffries, very late turn onto pit road there.
Early pitting as well, bunch of...
As long as you get it in behind that cone, you'll be okay.
Right. Randy Carroll, Randy Waugh, Robert Breedlove, Doug Woolley also in, all topping off.
A lot of these cars had just pitted and they were already in the back anyway, so really nothing to lose by coming down here and topping off.
Pat McCarthy going to stay out here, so this is an interesting gamble as well. You've got those drivers that are coming down pit road here to be able to take a shorter pit stop. For Pat McCarthy, I think his thought process is he knows everybody's going to have to come to pit road at least one more time. Take the track position now, maybe catch a timely caution between this point and that final pit stop, and then maintain the track position when everybody has to come down pit road with you to have that fuel necessary to get to the end.
I think it's never over till it's over.
And no 2 strategies are ever the same.
Nope. Everybody might have had a strategy locked in, and every time something happens, it's going to change. And you could see there, Jeffries with the late commit. He had a plan, and he changed that plan. You know, your brain, the gears never stop turning. That's the great thing about this, especially when there's, 39, I think, started this race. Or maybe 37, because we were in here, but this is always packed. Thursday night here at Rolling Thunder is always packed. You can't let those gears stop turning, because you're not going to find yourself getting anywhere.
Everybody has a strategy, and then the green flag flies.
Yes.
I'm trying to remember what race it was. I think it was a Primetime Racing League race that we were broadcasting, and our colleague Jack Mitchell, he asked Alex Moe, he says, "Hey, what's your strategy for the second race?" "Oh, I'm going to ride at the back." 5 laps later, he was up there leading the race. It's like, hold on. What happened to the pre-race strategy?
Well, he didn't say he was going to stay in the back.
Well, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
So 22 laps here remaining in this race, just a little outside of the window for everybody to be able to make it the rest of the way. McCarthy going to lead us back to the green. Pole sitter Mark Paglia with a good launch. They'll be knotted side by side going into turn 1. Terry Bombard going to be the wingman for the 197. Rodney Sullins with the 28 on the inside line, and like Paglia might edge out ahead here down the back straightaway. Let's see if the outside line, if that accordion effect, if they can draw back even in preparation for 3.
That was an interesting restart. There was a lot of space between Pat McCarthy and Terry Bombard right there. I was kind of curious on how that was going to go, but didn't seem to hurt him that much.
Yeah, McCarthy being the leader would have had lane choice, right? So he opted to swap, but they were not tight at all, but it still worked out.
Oh, Spirito! Hard into the outside wall! Massive wreck! Ulysses Sandoval was in the middle of that. Several cars spin to the inside wall, including last week's winner, Chuck McClure. Massive impact through the tri-oval, sliding across the start-finish line. Caution waves for the third time here tonight.
Looked like we had a blowover there, too. Somebody got around backwards, and roof flaps didn't really do too much.
That would have been DeSpirito, who it looks like, I'm wondering if he might have gotten a bump in the tri-oval. He shot down into Sandoval, and yeah, just the slightest bump from Brian Rawson. Late hit from Billy Elliser as well. And a car that was running up inside of the top 10 for a majority of the night needed a good run this evening after finishing out of the top 25 last week, all torn up on both the left side and the rear end of that DuPont Chevrolet. We had a bunch of drivers further back in reaction to the wreck that were involved. Chuck McClure got a bump from behind from Donnie Cameron. Jeremy Jeffries.
I take it back. The roof flaps did work on the 6. They almost didn't. He was already standing right up on his headlights, but the flaps got him back down on the track.
And had Bobby Farrell, Jessica Loralee to the list of drivers that got a piece of this one.
Probably the two luckiest drivers in this whole deal were Ulysses Sandoval. You see, he did a good job of holding on to it, and Randy Waugh right there in the 21. He just gets clipped and spins out. I don't think he hit anything.
A number of drivers did a good job getting to the inside line to avoid as well. Saw Brian Schilling able to make his way through. Denny Carroll was right behind a bunch of that as well. Not sure about that inside wall contact there for both Bobby Farrell and Chuck McClure. We've seen a number of drivers nose it into the inside walls here this evening, all the way around this racetrack, and have that aero damage not quite be up to speed. So the possibility of Chuck McClure going back-to-back could be in jeopardy here. Certainly got to breathe a sigh of relief that he had that victory last week in the opener. And for Joe DeSpirito, now it's I think a matter of just run all the laps and hope that more trouble takes place ahead of you, be able to pick up some spots. This could be not an insurmountable situation for him going into next week, but certainly not a situation that he felt for most of the night he was going to be in, as he had about a top 10 car all evening long, started up towards the front and never really fell outside of the top 15. Now he's going to be damaged and off the pace. A lot of damage on the back end of that race car. He came down pit road. They did repair job as best they could, but he's still sporting some of that damage here from that incident.
Saw Robert Spring coming down to pit road, led a few others behind him. I have to say, if there's a paint scheme in the field that I like that is not a throwback, I would have to give it to that one right there. This is the
I wonder why.
The defending national champion and #1 team in the nation, Ohio State Buckeyes, on that car.
So as he dives to pit road, Denny Carroll is going to elect to stay out along with Robert Breedlove. So I was kind of wondering when we saw Brian Schilling and a number of others come to pit road at the 1 to green, if we were going to see some, if not all of those drivers, maybe call that as their final trip to pit road. Because if we could get this caution and maybe another caution period, that might be enough pacing laps for drivers that topped off to be able to save enough fuel to get to the end. It looks like the 41 and the 931 have adopted that strategy here. I think they're going to need at least one more caution to make this work, but like we said, nobody has the same agenda here in the field, so why not try something different from everybody else?
You're not going to win if you just follow everybody, you know?
Denny Carroll was a playoff contender last season. pointed his way into the playoffs, finished 12th in the playoff standings. Had a great run last week in the season opener, 7th in points coming into tonight, 9 points out of the points lead. There's a lot of things that these drivers are racing for here outside of a checkered flag as well. You're also racing to be consistent this season to get that regular season championship. That pays out bonus points when the playoffs are reformatted. And also, in a couple of weeks' time, we've got the bracket challenge that's going to be kicking off, where we'll have the top 32 drivers in the point standings in a bracket-style battle for the remainder of the season. And drivers want to put themselves maybe in as high a seat as they possibly can in preparation for that. So that puts a little bit of emphasis on consistency in the early going of the season as well. This caution is going to have all 35 of our remaining drivers on the lead lap now. Greg Hagley, Mike Mangialardi, the only two drivers -1, going to get the free pass. So everybody on the track going to be on the same lap as leader Denny Carroll, and still in the conversation, depending on how circumstances play out here with these final 17 laps, of maybe still being able to leave the second race of the season with a victory.
Gonna go green on lap number 50, so that's gonna be, what, a 16, 17 lap run here?
Yeah, everybody but the top two came down pit road under this caution, so they are all good to make it on fuel. Denny Carroll and Robert Breedlove are a bit of a question mark right now. They could be anywhere from able to make it on fumes to being about a lap and a half short, depending on how much they were able to save under this caution period. So you can bet that Paglia, Sullins, Bombard, Garrett on back, they will be putting maybe a little bit of a sense of urgency in trying to get by these two drivers that are going to line up on the front row.
Yeah,
we're looking at them right now. Did not pit. The plot thickens, as they say. It's been a fantastic race, too, and thanks again to Red Line Performance Motorsports for funding the broadcasting and the brand new look in play here at Rolling Thunder. The vertical ticker and all that good stuff I've been trying to figure out. Finally figured it out. Still a couple little glitches, but nobody notices, I don't believe.
And we've seen during the course of this night drivers trying to formulate a third line. I think you're going to see drivers mid-pack. They're going to be very quick to try and form a third lane here now. They want to get the track position before we get to 10 laps to go. They don't want to be riding in line here, especially now. Majority of the field is good to make it on what they've got in the tank. And Carroll going to move up to that middle line there in front of Robert Breedlove. Blocks the momentum down the back straightaway. Paglia now on the inside line with help from a fellow Blue Oval and Terry Bombard. And there's that third line trying to form back there. That's Jeremy Jeffries up there trying to make it work. We saw him nose that Terry Gant throwback into the inside wall. I would have thought that that would be a car that would not be able to lead a line, but looks like he's wanting to try it. Now Ron Hagelin jumps up there. This will be a better scenario for Jeffries, as Hagelin's been able to keep his car clean so far this evening. He'll be a better car to try and lead in that clean air.
It's like Brian Schilling got caught in the middle there with no help. Caught in the sucker hole at 82. Well, he had thoughts of going to that line, but
ooh, close right there for Javier Negron in the middle. Made a little contact with the right rear of Terry Bombard, as now he's starting to go backwards a little bit. might get some help with Grant Wesley and Greg Palmer jumping up in front of him. So
Johnny Garrett making a move for the lead.
got help from Dante Ricky. Mark Paglia got shuffled out there. He was leading the inside line earlier, but looks like a couple of the drivers in front of him were able to swing around him on the outside line. Now he's the 4th car on the inside line, and I don't know if you saw that 39 Ryan Newman throwback of Josh Metallic, but he got a shove. That car jolted forward. Not sure if it's smart to run a Ryan Newman throwback at Talladega.
Yeah, you and I were thinking the same exact thing. Newman never had any luck at one of the super speedways except for the '08 Daytona 500, but especially Talladega. Yeah, that's a risky move if you ask me.
Unfortunately for him, there is no Keselowski or Carl Edwards throwbacks in the field. If there was a Claritin car around him, then I'd be worried.
Yeah, Mikasuki car somewhere.
I remember that Edwards had a horrific accident too at Dega.
Yes, he did.
Because you're talking about Newman, because he had a really bad one at Daytona, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that was the one where he, as an engineer, saw sort of a flaw with the roll bars or something, so they implemented it, and then he got in the wreck, and without that bar, he might have been hurt way worse than he was.
Well, even back to, I think it was 2002 or 2003 when he was back with Penske. I think it was the first Daytona 500 I tuned into where he got that barrel roll through the front straight infield grass.
Yeah.
That was 03, yep. And the other bad wreck he had was in 2020, I believe.
Yep. Well, if right now the goal of the 41 and the 931, who are playing alternate strategy to everybody else, was to kind of create a wall and box everybody else in, they're doing a good job of it here. They've been able to kind of stay side by side with each other. Rodney Sullivan's not been able to go anywhere. Donnie Garrett's boxed in on that inside line. They may have some options that middle line because a third lane is forming and charging forward. Jeremy Jeffries now is going to pick up the 21 of Randy Waugh. He's got RJ Cabana, Chuck McClure there with him. I think we're going to see more and more of those drivers in that middle line jumping up there.
Palmer made a late decision. He got to that outside line. Now he's going to be leading this thing on the outside. But these guys are running right behind the 41 and the 931. They know that they're going to be short on fuel. I would not want to be running behind somebody who's about to run out of fuel.
Rodney Sullivan's now going to move up there to that outside line. Look at the surge of that third lane, and look how it killed the momentum of that middle line as they head for 3.
Instantaneous.
Reed loves them, and Nara Wesley, they're going backwards.
Out of nowhere, within half a lap, that top line is there now. That was wild.
What they're going to have to do in that third line, though, is they're going to have to figure out just exactly how many of that line they want to get clear of the middle line and then move down. As you see them do that right there. When that third line forms, it will draw the middle line back, but it will also stall out the momentum of the third line. Look how that inside line now, first 3, now 4 cars are cleared. That's because of the side-by-side battling of the 3 wide. While obviously it helps the outside line move forward, it does lose them ground to the inside line, and then they have to kind of get the momentum back.
And that's them playing the game, right? It's just leapfrog. They know they can use that outside line to a point, and once you clear, get down, because everybody loves the center. It's all Talladega strategy. And it's too bad this game's so old it never tracks like career statistics, but you'd have some crazy high numbers for a lot of these guys on this track. How many times they've raced here, how many laps they've done, it's thousands of laps, tens of thousands of laps.
Another crazy thing about this game is you never know what side of the coin it's going to be when a driver's involved in a wreck at a super speedway. Because I, for the most part, wrote Jeremy Jeffries and Chuck McClure off of having competitive race cars. Both of them nosed their race cars into the inside wall at pretty high rates of speed. Both of them are up on that outside line. They've still got a shot for a top 10. Heck, they may, if circumstances work out in their favor, they still might have a shot at taking this checkered flag.
They're running right there with each other. They were just running nose to tail.
Oh.
Well, coming up in the lap car of Joe DeSpirito.
And Metallic got shuffled out majorly there. I don't know if there was a checkup in front of him, and when he lifted, it lost him momentum, and a number of drivers were able to get to his inside. He'll find a way in line in front of Brian Schilling, but he was 7th last time by. That's going to shuffle him back outside of the top 20.
Denny Carroll's still out in front here, and if he's trying to save fuel, this is not where he wants to be leading this thing.
Yeah, we can't forget, right? The two guys to watch is Carroll and Breedlove.
Well, the thing I would wonder is if he is short on fuel, is he short on fuel within the window where a caution could end this race under yellow? I don't think he can make it to the checkered flag, especially with what you're saying, Kyle, using up the fuel being that lead car. But if he can maybe catch a caution on lap 64, 65, just before he would have to dive onto pit lane, he might have enough that he could clutch on fumes the final couple of laps under pacing to be able to take the checkered flag. I think that's what he's got to be banking on right now.
That's a crazy strategy, but it is a strategy. Look at this. Holy moly.
Oh, no, there they go. Jeremy Jeffries, Chuck McClure, Randy Waugh. We got one car way up in the air. That was Donnie Cameron.
Start talking about yellows. They heard you.
Several drivers airborne. Donnie Cameron's car, we were talking about the Ryan Newman Daytona 500 wreck. That car was almost Ryan Newman-esque. All four wheels were pointed to the heavens. The roof was several feet off the ground. And somehow that thing drove away from the incident.
It looked like it hit a landmine because it was rolling and then it got launched. He just kind of rolls and then that thing just pops right there.
Ulysses upside down again.
And he was the one that actually flipped Donnie Cameron up into the air. That tri-oval's been a menace here tonight. We saw them kind of all fanning out and checking up, and I think Sandoval might have gotten into the 21 of Randy Waugh. It sent the 21 into the right rear quarter panel of Jeremy Jeffries. Jeffries gets the 17 of McClure. Cody Lamas, Brian Schilling, Robert Breedlove all getting pieces of this one. And this caution puts us inside the window where we are going to get back green flag racing here. There'll only be a handful of laps, but this race still has the potentiality of finishing under green flag results.
Did the 21 have to lift a little bit there?
I think he did. The bumpers weren't lined up between him and RJ Cabana. Just keep looking back over that flip by Donnie Cameron. I don't think that that one hit down on the roof might make things questionable, but for the most part, I don't think Donnie Cameron is out of this race by any stretch. I think that car could still potentially be up to speed. Now, granted, everybody involved in this wreck, the big problem for them is there's only going to be a handful of laps, and they have lost a ton of track position, which will be very difficult to make up here in the number of laps that will be allotted for them. But I think for Jeremy Jeffries, Chuck McClure, those two took some pretty hard hits there.
It is such a strange... I'm still looking at Donnie. The way that Ulysses flipped and how they came together, it's like he just flicked him up into the air. It's pretty wild. I love the physics of this thing. We need to remember, too,
the caution came out in the span where it's raced back. The wreck happened in the tri-oval. A lot of what we saw afterwards were drivers wrecking across the start-finish line. McClure slid across the line 11th. Jeremy Jeffries crossed the line in 12th. Randy Waugh crossed the line in 13th. They're still in those positions here, despite them sustaining damage from that wreck. I don't know if they're going to come to pit road here or if they're going to keep that track position and just hope that maybe, just maybe, they catch a quick yellow when we go back green to be able to maintain the positions they're currently in.
There's a couple takers.
21's coming down pit road.
87 is also down of Donnie Cameron. A couple of others towards the back of the pack there. You'll see Mike Mangialardi for that green flag run. Only driver that will receive the free pass here under this caution. He'll get back on the lead lap. And this is exactly the caution that Denny Carroll wanted to see. I think now he's going to have enough fuel to make it the rest of the way. So the gamble paid off. If that caution had come out maybe 2-3 laps later, I think he would have been in trouble. The timing of that yellow was perfect for his strategy.
I wonder if it's a huge gamble, right? Like, which is part of the strategy. I'm going to take this gamble and see if we can do it. And then a yellow comes out and he's like, okay, we can probably make it. I guarantee you, if we ride on board with this guy, there's no way that engine's running. Yeah. We all know Denny. He'll be clutching that thing like something awful.
Yeah, maximum save for sure. And it's interesting because I remember at the conclusion of last season, we were talking about that it seems like every season there's that one breakout driver, that one driver that's able to clinch their first victory of their Tally Challenge career. I remember back to Keith Hughes and Doug Hewlett. We saw Ulysses Sandoval get his first career win last season. It was the question of who the next driver was going to be. Could very well be Denny Carroll, who still has a 0 in the win column career-wise here in the Talladega Challenge Series.
Really?
He was consistent last season. He started out this season really well with a top 10. Maybe tonight is the night that he gets career win number 1 on Thursday nights.
He's never won a Talladega Challenge race before.
He's not. He's been in the conversation multiple times, but just not been able to close out the deal. Maybe this alternative strategy is his ticket into putting a 1 in that win column.
Wow, he's such a Talladega guy too. Like, he's all over this track everywhere. And this is the one spot. I mean, I've seen him win, obviously, at Talladega before, and there's some leagues that run this track, and a lot of the same names are out there too.
So it's going to be 3 to go. Believe that a caution after we take the green will end the race. Carroll, the leader. Paglia, the pole sitter, been up front all night long. Second, Terry Bombard third. Donnie Garrett fourth. Rodney Sullins fifth. Dante Ricky in sixth. With Palmer, Negron, Cabana, and Lauralee. That is your top 10. And indeed, the 17 and the 1 definitely can see some damage on the Jeremy Jeffries machine. I'll be shocked if that car is up to speed, but I think both of these drivers involved in this latest wreck, they're going to go with the gamble, keep the track position, hope that they can maintain it here for these final 3 laps, maybe catch a quick yellow, and finish better than where they probably would have finished if they had come to pit road here and started at the tail end of the field. That might be the most interesting area of the field to watch here on this upcoming restart, because you gotta know the drivers behind them realize that those drivers were in the wreck, that they're probably damaged, they're probably slow, and they're going to be having a sense of urgency of trying to get around them ASAP.
And they don't need to yield. You just got to figure out how to get around them.
All bets are off. 41 should be able to make it on fuel. Everybody else was good to make it on fuel on the previous restart. Now it's a matter of how much are you willing to risk. make a move that could lock you into the playoffs with a victory. You could make a move that could have you in the running for a top 5, finishing outside of the top 25 when you come around to the stripe the next time by. Here we go. 3-lap shootout here at Talladega. Denny Carroll, great launch, immediately moves up in front of the 28 of Mark Paglia. He left the door open. Here comes the 10 of Terry Bombard.
And you're thinking the 41 should be good to go to the end, eh?
He should be, I believe, yes.
Now Bombard has the 38 of Rodney Sollins right behind him. Now there was a little bit of a gap between those two, but that gap is gone. About even now.
Ooh, Paglia with a little push up there on the entrance to 3. That's going to check up that outside line for a moment. Bombard edges ahead by a nose off of 4. Here comes that middle line back again, and do we see a third line jump up there here? Saw Jessica Loralee, Grant Wesley. They kind of looked like they wanted to show the nose off of 4, but maybe thinking a little too early.
I'll be surprised if we don't get a thing going here.
Bombard's clear, I believe. Does he stay to the bottom as he try to shift up there to that middle groove? He'll stay committed there to the inside line with Rodney Sullins.
Somebody pushes you to the lead like that, you just feel bad to leave, hang them out to dry like that, though.
I think add a lap to that, though, we might make that lane change.
Yep. I think you're right.
A little early.
Both Denny Carroll and Terry Bombard pointed their way into the playoffs last season. They'd like to win their way in this season as to the stripe, the white flag displayed, and Carroll's got choices now. He's clear of both the outside and the inside line. Here comes the third line. Garrett, Ricky, Negron, Loralee, Wesley.
My.
Big push for the 77. Oh, it might be too much of a push. Up into the wall for himself and Paglia.
Saved it, though.
They're still going. They are
stuck
locked
together
on the outside wall.
5 wide.
Oh, now they're going to wreck. Through the tri-oval, they're wrecking at the
run to the inside, though. Here they go.
Wow.
It's going to be close. Here comes Bombard. It's going to be Carroll by about a wheel.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Oh, this is race number 2, man. Ay, ay, ay.
Denny Carroll will get his first career win in the Talladega Challenge Series. The strategy pays off. The choices on the final restart kept the rest of the field at bay. And by maybe a wheel, he was able to edge out Terry Bombard. And he will lock himself into the postseason as early as race number 2. Bombard will get second. Rodney Sullins going to cross the line. Final car on the podium.
Does he have enough gas left to celebrate?
I think he might. It may not be a lengthy burnout, but there should be enough in the tank.
Man, to never have won here, I can't imagine what... Because he's won a lot of races, but this is a big one.
Our scoring says 11 1,000ths was the interval from first to second. And Denny Carroll, I think he's going to use up every ounce of fuel left in that race car for this celebration.
Everything.
See Sandoval coming up there, giving him a bump. It kind of cast my memory back. There was an unfortunate bumper grab incident between Denny Carroll and Ulysses Sandoval last season when they were coming off of turn 4. Both of them were battling for the win. Neither one ended up getting the checkered flag. So it kind of looked like right there Sandoval was saying, hey, apologies for last season. I'm glad you got one this time.
It's just amazing how that worked out. Everything had to go perfectly for that strategy to work, and it did.
But you said it, Kyle. You can't win riding behind him. So
That's
try
right.
something different. I'm also amazed that when we saw Mark Paglia kind of get locked together there up on the outside wall with Donnie Garrett. A lot of times you'll end up seeing both drivers flip. The fact that they rode locked together all the way through 3 and 4 without incident shocks me.
That was wild. They went a long time. We're taking another look here at the finish. Just getting her lined up here.
There's a massive wreck coming back to the checkered flag there. Paglia went for a barrel roll. Donnie Garrett, I think he went up and over as well. Several drivers got collected up coming back to the checkered flag.
I just can't believe those two got stuck together like they did.
Yeah.
Like an old EA Sports game, that you would see that happen all the time, but
9 times out of 10, you have that kind of a scenario. They're through the center of 3 and 4, and both cars, the left side of the 77 and the right side of the 28, flip up into the air. The fact that that didn't happen to either one of them there is an anomaly that I don't think I've ever seen before. Well, Denny Carroll makes it back-to-back victories for the Chevrolet Bowties. After Chuck took the victory in the season opener, Carroll won't have to worry about consistency and points to lock himself into the postseason. He can certainly try and rack up some more bonus points, though, as he gets himself geared up for his second straight playoff appearance. And let's see if we can dial up the drivers that brought it home on the podium here this evening. Let's begin with the driver third place here tonight. Needed a good run. Driver that Dale Sr. throwback, Rodney Sullins. Hey, Rodney, it's the guys up here in the booth. You got a copy?
I sure do, fellas. How you doing?
Wild race here tonight. Saw some fuel strategy there in the latter third of this race. Wild run to the finish here in the closing stages. Your car was up front, top 5 car all night long. What little more did you need to maybe be able to get around that 41 and that 10, maybe have this one first to the start-finish line here tonight at Talladega?
Well, came out of 4 and didn't really have anybody behind me to push. I don't know if Greg had a chance to get up. And he kind of stayed down with Bombi. And I just got a draft enough off of the 41 there to probably finish third. But yeah, there's a little bit of gap behind me when the cars were, I guess, separating. I don't know. Did they wreck behind us? I know there was a caution, but was that right behind me? I didn't even look. I was looking out the windshield.
It was a ways back. It was about the mid-pack area, but they almost had it saved. They were 5 wide for a moment there coming off of 4.
Oh, nice.
But I mean, we talk about the second race of the season. Usually everybody has the same mentality in the first race of, get that early win, lock yourself into the playoffs. Dependent on how that first race goes, then the mentality seemed to change. You came into this race kind of right in the middle of the field, 20th in the point standings. So what was the mentality coming into this one? Were you still kind of in the must-win mentality, or are you now at the point where you're looking for the consistency for the rest of the regular season?
Well, I want to be consistent all the time, and then hopefully the wins come. I haven't had one in 2 or 3 seasons, so I'm starting to feel a little desperate, actually. But last week I was running up in the top, 5 or 7, and we had a restart, and I made a mistake trying to clear a black and didn't put my car in the proper gear, and that sent me to the back because I had to serve because it was my fault. So I had a good run going last week. So I really wanted to get a good run this week from start to finish. So that was my goal. Wanted to win. Today's my birthday, so I was
Happy birthday!
Well, thank you very much. I was like, man, this would be a great day to win a race, But a top 3 here on the podium, talking with you guys, I'll take that anytime.
We always love having the interaction with your father in the YouTube chat, and I'm going to read this verbatim here. He gave this message with about 10 to go. He said, if Rodney makes podium, get a chance to ask him what does he have planned for this weekend. He may get carried away. So what's the background story of that comment?
Well, I'll tell you. When I was a teenager, I bought a Chevelle from my uncle, and I had that car for several years, and I wound up selling it to a good friend of mine. And I told him if he ever wanted to sell the car, I had to get first chance at it. Well, they wound up a few years ago actually putting me in their wheel, and they were going to give me the car if they passed away. Well, they were about the same age. So he's got about 6 or 8 old cars, and he's just starting a new project on a truck. So I sent him a message and said, hey, dude, if you need to clear out a garage space, I can take one off your hands for your new project. And he said, make me an offer. Well, we hawed back and forth a little bit. And needless to say, I'm flying out tomorrow, driving to Alabama to pick up my 68 Chevelle, and I'm towing it back here home. It's the one I drove when I was a teenager.
Wow.
Congratulations, dude. That's amazing.
It is. And a lot of thanks to my dad for helping me with this. He's actually got it in his garage. He's put his Z71s outside in the weather while the Chevelle's inside nice and comfy. So I appreciate him and all he's done for the next, for a few days and the next couple of days. So, yeah, I'll be landing in Huntsville, Alabama tomorrow about 2:30 in the afternoon Central Time.
We'll have a lot of fun this weekend in doing that. Pretty cool story. And congratulations on the great run here tonight. We talk about early portion of the season. You get these good finishes. You make leaps and bounds in the regular season points. So it'll be interesting to see where you are slotted at the conclusion of this one. Before we let you go, Rodney, we're going to open up the floor to you for thank you, sponsors, and shout outs.
I appreciate it, fellas. Obviously, I want to thank Tarnation TV and Flat Out Racing Network. Your guys, I've watched the broadcast, and it is phenomenal. I know I've had a lot of feedback that it's really good. So Blaine, Seth, I think Kyle tonight. Can't wait to watch this. They've been just miles above other broadcasts that I've seen. It's just I love what you guys are doing. I hope you're as proud of it as we are having it here at RTG.
I think
of course,
it was
all
your
the
idea.
admins. Well, yeah, it was. But you guys are making it happen. Kind of like, and I ain't afraid to say, it's kind of like John Godfrey. I gave him my vision with BSR. He brought it to life. I gave him my vision with RTG version 4, and here it is now.
Right.
So I can come up with some ideas. I just can't make them happen. But Rolling Thunder Gaming, Sean Prime, pretty much our only leader now after we lost Bones, and still missing him every day. He's irreplaceable. My co-admins, Josh and Tim, and all the admins here, and all the drivers and everybody that donates here. Congrats to Denny and Bumby. My teammates at RPM, thank you guys. I appreciate you. Black Rifle Coffee, Habana Brisa. That Wheaties throwback was pretty fast. I think maybe Kyle recognized that as being the Wheaties throwback. I tried to do the Black Rifle on the hood with kind of similar to Wheaties. Wicker's Barbecue. Dad, hope you enjoyed that. Eric, my cousin, he's started watching some of these. I don't know if he's out there, but I love you guys. Again, John Godfrey, thanks for putting this together. Thank you guys.
That's Rodney Sullivan's third place here tonight in the second race of the 66th season of the Talladega Challenge Series. Congratulations on the great run. Hopefully this is a sign of some good consistency continuing on the regular season here, and best of luck next week. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you, Seth. I appreciate it, guys. Looking forward to this weekend.
Thanks, Rodney. Enjoy your new car or old car.
Right?
Enjoy
car,
getting your car back.
It's 57 years old, just like I am today. So, I'm excited about it. But it's not often you get your car that you drove around as a teen back when you're in your 50s and get to drive it again.
That's super cool.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys.
That is awesome.
Have fun.
Absolutely. Well, have a great weekend, Rodney, and see you next Thursday night.
We'll see you.
Yeah, don't call Rodney. He's going to be busy driving that thing around all day.
If he leaves you on, if he doesn't pick up the phone, you'll know why.
Yep. If
Go
he's not here
directly to
next week,
voicemail.
we'll know why.
That's right. Let's see if we can get a hold of our runner-up finisher here tonight, Terry Bombard. Hey, Terry, it's the guys up here in the broadcast booth. You got us?
Yes, sir. How's it going, guys?
Man, I'll tell you what. During the course of this evening, we really saw that middle line be dominant. But the door opened up for you to be able to stick your nose to the left rear quarter panel of that 41 with 2 laps to go. You got some good pushes, some good momentum, able to stay alongside of him. What little more do you need through the tri-oval? Because, man, 11 1,000ths of a second short of being able to lock yourself into the playoffs with a victory. Was there some mitigating factor there in that final lap you saw that if circumstances were a little different, we might be talking to you in victory lane instead?
No, I don't think so. I just doing everything I could, and I'm just grateful that Greg Palmer came up and gave me that tap at the end there and got me that close. So, but there was just a gap, too much of a gap. But I tried the best I could, and that's all I can do. But
we saw you qualify well. Rolled off the grid from the 10th position. Top 10 pretty much all night long, up in the top 5 there in the closing stages of this race. We ended up seeing a number of drivers last week not get the start to season 66 that they were looking for. You came into this race currently situated, I believe, back in outside the top 30. So we talked with Rodney just moments ago. He finished about mid-pack last week. How did the mentality change from last week to this week?
yeah, I'm trying to stay out of trouble because I'm so bad at qualifying. I need to stay in the top 30 as best I can, and I keep telling you, that's my number one goal is usually just to try to get in. I needed the point so bad tonight that I'm glad it finally worked out for a change.
Yeah, we talk about the last couple of seasons. We alternated between Talladega Superspeedway and Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway, 2 tracks that are obviously the same configuration in length, both based off of Talladega, but they raced differently, specifically with the setups and everything. With having the same track here in back-to-back weeks and going forward here as well, how do you think that's going to help drivers in terms of trying to establish some consistency rather than being at the same track every other week?
I don't really notice that much difference on the track, but the pit road widened it like it is. That makes a big difference. I think it's going to help a lot of guys keeping their positions more because they don't have to worry about getting squeezed so much, push onto the grass and stuff. But the track, yeah, it's a beautiful track, but I think I don't notice hardly any difference for me.
Well, we documented that you were a playoff driver last season, consistent and able to point your way up into a playoff spot. Good start to the season here for you in the second race, bringing it home on the podium. Mentioned about the fact early on the season with how close the points usually are, we can see drivers with a good run jump up double digits in the standings, fully expecting that we're going to see you make a giant leap in the overall points going into next week. So congratulations on a job well done here tonight. Great execution both on pit road and on the racetrack. Bringing it home solidly in second. Before we let you go, Terry, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
All right, thank you guys. Thanks FRN coming out as usual, doing a great job. Tarnation TV, I'm pretty sure is the other one. I'm not sure.
That's 100% correct. Yeah, you're all good. That's perfect. Thank you.
You guys did a great job. I can thank Rodney for the little pushing out there. Greg Palmer for that last little nudge. And as usual, I got to thank my teammate Jeff Carrillo for not making the race again and letting me finish second, because whenever he's not in the race, I always seem to get better finishes. So thank you, Jeff, for not showing up. And I also like to say shout out to my boy Cyber, because everybody loves Cyber. So, oh, one more thing, if I may. So sad for Bones. I don't know just can't get over it. And I think of him every time we're at this track. So just a memory. So that's all I got.
Absolutely. Well, we echo those sentiments for sure here. Terry, congratulations on a great run here tonight. And maybe next week we talk to you one position better, provided Jeff doesn't show up.
Yes, sir. You got that right.
Terry Bombard, second place here this evening in the second race of the season of the Talladega Challenge Series. And let's now go down to victory lane. Probably got an empty fuel tank, but that's okay. He's got a victory here in the Talladega Challenge Series. Let's dial up tonight's race winner, Denny Carroll. Hey, Denny, it's the guys up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you.
Man, I'll tell you what, we talked about it. You've been close so many times of getting that brass ring tonight. Career win number 1 in the Talladega Challenge Series. First off, congratulations, but also well done on executing that alternative strategy. We saw you decide to stay out, take the gamble, get a couple of cautions to save the fuel, maintained the track position, and held them off at the end.
Yeah, the first couple cautions before the end, I stayed up in the top 10 most of the race. I missed my pit box, had to back up, and I got myself put in the back.
Now, I was trying to crunch the numbers here. Obviously, the first caution, not the caution prior to this restart, but the caution before that, I had you maybe about a lap to a lap and a half short. Am I correct on that, or were you good to go at that point, or did you need that second and final caution?
Well, the caution I stayed out on, I was exactly a lap short.
Okay,
and
so
I
did need
I
that
think
second
I
one
would.
then.
Yeah, I was hoping maybe there would have been a debris caution or something, but I definitely wouldn't have made it if we hadn't have got another caution.
Well, able to hold them off in that 3-lap shootout. Now, we saw you have to make some decisions, some important ones there on the white flag lap. You left the door open for the 10 to get to your inside, but stayed committed to that middle line. Was there any point on that final lap as you started to see maybe that right front quarter panel of the 10 pulling up closer and closer alongside of you of maybe I should have stayed to the bottom, or did you think that that was the strategy that was going to get you this win right out of the gate?
Well, I mean, you guys know as much as I do. The middle lane's usually the one that goes, so when I got a chance to get in it, I wasn't going to go back to the bottom.
Well, whenever we end up having somebody win in the early portion of a season, by default, I always ask them this question. You've got the win now. You're locked into the playoffs. What do we see out of the 41 here for the remainder of this regular season? Because now you've got the freedom and the luxury to try and go for some more, rack up some playoff points for when the postseason standings are put together.
Yeah, now I can race maybe a little harder, because if I get wrecked, it won't hurt as much. Because I got a win that's got me in the playoffs, so all I got to do now is stay in the top 20 in points, and I can fight for some more wins.
Absolutely. A great start to the season here. You had that top 10 run last week in the opener. You get the victory here tonight that locks you into the postseason for the second straight season here as well, might I add. Congratulations on a job well done here tonight. As I said, great job on executing some alternative strategy, and we'll let you get back to your celebrating here in just a moment. But before we do, we're going to give you the opportunity for some Victory Lane thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank God for allowing all of us to do what we do, and thank my family in Florida, all my loved ones that watches, and Rodney Sullins' paint jobs. Man, those things are fast, and he did a good job on that Coors Light and my Crown Royal. I love both those cars.
Well, that number 40. Oh, sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Thank y'all for putting this on. I can't wait to watch it, and you guys are awesome.
Well, we appreciate it. That Coors Light throwback definitely was a silver bullet here tonight as Denny Carroll gets his first victory here in the Talladega Challenge Series, and he will be going playoff racing here in season 66. Congratulations on the job well done. Enjoy the rest of this regular season. Maybe it's not the last time we talk to you in Victory Lane, and go and enjoy this first victory.
Thanks, guys. And I'd like to thank all the guys at RTG. Man, it's hard to win over here. A lot of competition and a bunch of great guys to race with. I'd just like to thank all of them for even letting me race here.
That's Denny Carroll. He got to burn it down here tonight at Talladega, picking up the victory in the second race of season 66. Congratulations once again. But we've been treated to a number of drivers that have gotten their first victory. Some of them, it comes down to door banging to the start-finish line. Other ones, it comes down to fuel strategy. This one was, I think, maybe one of the more unique ones that we saw, where a driver literally had to time cautions perfectly to be able to make it on fuel, while all the time trying to hold off a thundering herd of race cars behind him.
Yeah, it's just it's amazing when things work out like that. You know, taking a gamble like that, and it definitely paid off for Denny Carroll tonight.
You know, we look at our finishing results here, and a couple of things that stand out to me. We mentioned about Rodney Sullins, didn't have the best of run last week, and a jump up in the point standings. Greg Palmer, who I think was involved, was it the first caution, if I'm not
Very first
mistaken?
one, yep.
Able to come back for a top 5 run. RJ Cabana, who was involved in a stack up in the tri-oval in the second half of this race, came back for 5th. Jessica Loralee needed points here tonight, didn't have the best of run last week. She's going to get a top 10 run. And Chuck McClure, Jeremy Jeffries, didn't we see those two guys flipped upside down across the start-finish line a couple cautions prior to the finish? They finished top 10 still.
Yeah, incredible comeback for both of those drivers.
And seeing the qualifying orders too, eh? Like Jessica qualified 35th, ended up in 7th. Javier Negron, same thing, 34th to 6th. Cabana from 36th to 5th. Like some
had to
big
pass a lot of
gains.
cars.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jessica coming home there with a 7th place finish. She just told me right after the race, she was actually racing with a bit of a heavy heart. Her father-in-law passed away earlier today, so I'm gonna send my thoughts and prayers out to her family on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
I remember this past week she was giving me updates on her father-in-law, so very sad to hear that news. You look at some of these other guys here down the finishing results. Obviously, the hardship for Mark Paglia, had a strong car all night long.
Pole position.
Yep, got locked up there with Donnie Garrett on the final lap. Garrett was another driver in the conversation there. Joe DeSpirito with the damaged race car. Tim Nofsker as well. A bunch of drivers here that we talk about. You can afford one bad race at the beginning of the season. You really don't want to have two, because then you're trying to play catch up for the remainder of the regular season. For some of these drivers now, is it too early to say that they're going to be looking at next week as must win?
I think it's still a little bit too early, but but a lot of them know that they really can't afford to have, another bad run. So I think they're gonna be putting a lot of pressure on themselves, not necessarily to win next week, but at least get a good, solid, top 5, top 10 finish if they can.
But it has been a tremendous start to the season. We've seen a former champion open up the season with a victory, and we've seen a driver get their first career victory here 1 week later in the form of Denny Carroll. Both those drivers know that they will be battling for the championship, still wide open as to who else is going to join them, and we could find out a brand new name as early as next Thursday night. We thank you all for joining us here on the Simulcast for Tarnation TV and the Flat Out Racing Network. Be sure to join us back here next Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we continue to cover the 66th season of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. For Blaine Donlin, our producer, for Kyle Matthews, I'm Seth Cole. We'll see you guys next week as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of Tarnation TV and the Flat Out Racing Network.